Evening, Cherries fans, and welcome to this very special interview here on Up the Cherries in All Departments. Prior to welcoming on my special guest tonight, here is a bit about our sponsors, Dental on the Banks. To find out a little bit more about what they can do for you, visit dentalonthebanks.co.uk. Now, my special guest this evening is a current AFC Bournemouth player. To date, he has played a total of 384 games for the club, scoring a total of 19 goals. He joined the club in League One and helped us win promotion twice to the Premier League. He's been captain of the club, scored and set up goals in our 4-3 win over Liverpool in 2016, and has been an absolute rock at the heart of defence. It is no other than the legend who is Steve Cook. Evening, Steve. How are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Thanks for having me on. Long day, but it's nice to be here.
Excellent stuff, and thank you so much for coming on this special show. It's an absolute pleasure to get to talk to you, Cherries legend.
Yeah, that's always nice, yeah.
We'll discuss your time at the Cherries shortly, but let's discuss where your career began. You grew up in Hastings. What was your early footballing memories like growing up?
Yeah, from day one. Obviously, when I was an age that I could play football, I wanted to do that. Wanted to every birthday that I had, every candles that I blew out, I wished I was a professional footballer. Was going to be a professional footballer. So that was my dream from the early days, and always played football competitively. And yeah, I started at a very early age at Brighton. I think I was 7 or 8. So I kind of knew what I wanted, and it was a big commitment. I only realised how big a commitment it is now that my oldest boy has started playing, and I'm kind of driving him here, there, and everywhere. So yeah, huge part of my career is down to my mum and dad as well.
Awesome stuff. And as you mentioned there, you were spotted by Brighton at an early age, a club very local to where you grew up in Hastings. Were you a fan of the club, and how did you find your time in Brighton's academy?
No, I wasn't actually. I supported Liverpool as a kid. For some reason, I think I liked watching Michael Owen, so kind of then decided to be a Liverpool fan, even though I couldn't obviously go to the games. But yeah, the Brighton kind of thing, I've become a fan. Signed there at a young age. Back then, it was less intense, I'd say, because you didn't play games until you were 10, so the games would come like maybe every 6 weeks. So it wasn't I could still play for my grassroots team, Hastings, at the time, which was nice, playing with your friends, so coming through the Brighton, it was a centre of excellence back then. So I trained at a satellite centre with two of my other friends, which was nice as well, in Eastbourne. And then I think at 13, and you do that and or you did then a Thursday night at Falmer. So that then it started to become a little bit more serious with obviously the games at the weekends, and I really enjoyed it. Loved kind of the journey through the Centre of Excellence. Met some very nice people as well. My two best mates at the time, and still are now. They made kind of the journey through the ages as well with me, so that made it more enjoyable. Obviously, ups and downs throughout, but yeah, overall, a great period in what's turned out to be a really long career.
And you made your first appearance for the Seagulls in a third round cup win over Manchester City. Do tell us a bit more about your time at Brighton and your memories of that game.
Yeah, so it was it all come through basically me playing well for the reserves. It was a reserves back then, so I was 17, so a first year scholar, and was playing actually left back in the reserves, which was different for me. But I had a short, long throw, as obviously the Bournemouth fans would know. Not many goals scored from it, but something that was used quite a lot. But Mickey Adams back then as well, the manager, really liked that way of playing. And I scored 3 and 3 from left back for the reserves. So I kind of got fast tracked, and with a long throw as well, fast tracked into kind of the first team training session. And then the physio at the time, Malcolm Stewart, he's actually a drugs tester now, so I still see him quite a bit down at the training ground. He actually said to me, "Oh, you're going to be on the bench against Man City." And I was like, "Oh, okay, this is nice." You know, they'd literally just been taken over. They'd signed a few big players. I never really thought I'd get on, but it was yeah, an amazing night. You know, even at the Withdean, they didn't get massive crowds, but that was full, and yeah, an amazing night for myself, my mum and dad.
And your rest of the time, your time at Brighton, you played another further 2 games for them before going out on loan. What was the team like there?
Yeah, the team changed a lot for the duration I was there. The Towards the end of my Brighton career, they brought in some great players, a new philosophy under Gus Poyet, and he really changed the club from top to bottom. He was a terrific manager, very intense. He had great coaches around him as well, which made the environment really nice. And you know, the stadium was being built. There was kind of that structure, the vision that they had, that Tony Bloom had at the time, which we all see now. They've got an amazing training ground, a lovely stadium, a top team, and they've really done it the right way. So fair play to him. But I would say Gus Poyet really put the foundations in. He changed the philosophy, which Graham Potter now has taken to another level. But yeah, my time at Brighton was obviously brief, as in appearances. A huge kind of time I spent there, obviously from 8 years old till 20. So I saw a lot of change. I went quite a while between appearances, from my kind of first 2 to my last, because I ended up going back there and playing on New Year's Day. I think it was against Southampton, just before I signed for Bournemouth on on a permanent, which was a great game for me to play. And we won 3-0 and played right back, so that was another strange one for myself. But overall, I love my time at Brighton. It kind of defined me as a person. It was probably one of the last scholarships where you done jobs, you know, you clean boots, clean equipment. That's all changed, you know, in academies now, but I feel like I definitely benefited from that.
And you had a number of loan moves to non-league sides You played for Havant Waterlooville, Eastleigh, Eastbourne Borough and Mansfield Town. How did you find your time at each of those, Steve? And were you worried about not getting a fair chance at Brighton?
All very different loans. The Havant Waterlooville was a work experience in between, like the times I wasn't in the first team squad. So it was difficult because I didn't drive. So that made it really difficult for me, obviously getting from Hastings to Havant. It was a bit of a journey, but Charlie Oatway at the time, he was the assistant manager there and then kind of part-time at Brighton. So Gary Elphick was there also. So I kind of done a bit of travelling with him. That was a really good experience for me in Conference South. Then I think the season after I went on loan to Eastleigh, and at the time I think it was Ian Baird in charge, and they hadn't had the impact of the money quite yet. So they were, I think when I was there, was flirting around the top 1, 2, 3 places, and it was a nice 3 months, really competitive. A kind of different experience from Havant because I was fully there rather than in and out. And then the Eastbourne Borough move was my favourite of all of them. I was only there for a month, but it was perfect for me as in location wise. Again, Gary Elphick was there, and I knew a few others as well. And we won a lot of games in that period, and I loved it. Really loved it. I would have been very open to staying there for the rest of the season, but actually, believe it or not, we lost to Mansfield 4-0. I think a week before I was going on loan, but I was centre back. But I actually had a very good game, which was looking back at it, unfortunate because I really didn't want to leave Eastbourne at the time, and Mansfield was a million miles away from obviously where I wanted to be, and that loan turned out to be a bit of a disaster for myself. I hated it. I hated travelling up there. I hated playing for them. I was desperate to go back to Brighton. And then going back to your question, yeah, that was a time where I thought to myself, not sure kind of this is for me. If I'd rather probably not play at this kind of level. If I have to, this is no disrespect, obviously, Mansfield, but at the time I'd never kind of had this experience of being away and a team that wasn't winning. So yeah, it wasn't enjoyable. Got an injury and ended up going back to Brighton, which yeah, it was a bit sweet because obviously I was injured, but I got to go back. Which was, looking back at it now, it was a little bit obviously young, wanted to be around my mates. I was always travelling up from Hastings and back, and it wasn't ideal. I really didn't commit myself. So yeah, but a moment in my career that wasn't great, but I definitely learnt from it. And yeah, so kind of when I come back, I thought to myself, yeah, I'm going to be shipped out again and probably won't get another chance at Brighton. So it was all about kind of getting a bit of break. I always back to myself that I could play for the club, but never, like I say, I didn't feel I did get a fair crack. And in the end, that's why I left, because I went back. I went into a newly formed development squad under Gus Poyet, Luke Williams, who's now coach or assistant at Swansea. He was terrific. We had a very good group, and I learnt an awful lot about the game. I think we played. I think it was a Carling Cup back then. I played against Liverpool and had a good game. I think we lost 2-1, but for my first game for the first team in over 2 years, it went really well for myself. And then I thought I might kind of play in the league game. And I remember it so well because we had Ipswich away, and Lewis Dunk, who's my mate, was suspended. So I thought, perfect, I'm in. And in the end, they played Romain Vancelot at centre back, and he was kind of like 5'9". So I thought, this is my time. I've got to go. And luckily, then Bournemouth came in for me.
And in 2011, you joined the club on loan, signed by Lee Bradbury. What did Lee say to you, Steve, to convince you to come here?
There was no convincing needed. I was told I was going. So yeah, I remember getting a phone call and saying they were looking forward to having me down for the month. Back then, you could do them kind of short-term loans, and I couldn't wait. It was something that I didn't think would pop up. But again, going back to the 21s development thing, we played Bournemouth, and I think we battered them on the day, and all the first team were kind of Bournemouth first team players were watching, and obviously the management and whatnot. I think Bigham was there. He kind of takes credit for signing me, so I give him a little shout out. But yeah, I think that's where it come from, and spoke to obviously Bradders on the way down, and I was really excited. Bit of a strange one because they put me in digs. So I've gone from living on my own with a couple of lads in Brighton to going to live with a family in Bournemouth. So it was different, but it was enjoyable. And yeah, it went from there. And I can always remember my debut of Preston away, and I've never really looked back.
So what you say, Steve, is if you didn't batter us, it was perfect.
Yeah, well, I kind of say it to the under 23s now. When they're going into these games, you never know who's watching. You never when they play the Exeters, when they play Wickhams and whatnot. They're the games that kind of people go and watch, and they want to take like young up and coming players now. So that's my kind of my advice to the young lads at the moment, because with the January window coming around, you have to play well in these games. You never know what's around the corner.
Most definitely. And of course, then you joined permanently in 2012. Did you really envisage at that point what was to follow?
No, not really. But kind of Maxim had just taken over. I think I was his first permanent signing. There was that vision of the club want to be in the Premier League, but whenever an owner kind of generally takes over a football club, that's always a vision. Playing in the Premier League, building a club, and kind of improving the town, whatnot along with it. That's always a dream, but we was really struggling in League. Well, at that time we was doing okay in League One, but we had 3 stands. It was kind of like the Premier League's a million miles off. So no, but I kind of fell in love with the club straight away from being on loan. I love playing for Bournemouth, and going back to I played against Southampton for Brighton, and Brighton ended up saying to me, you don't have to go if you don't want to. We can offer you the same contract as you got offered down there if you want to stay, but we can't guarantee football. And it wasn't for me. I was desperate to come back to Bournemouth, desperate to kind of see where we could go. And I'm so glad, obviously, I felt that way, because 10 years later I'm still here. So an amazing decision, and something that could have football paths, could have been so different, but luckily for me, I chose the right one.
What was your relationship like with Lee Bradbury?
Really good. A manager that trusted me, and it was so nice. Not many had. So do you know what? When he did get the sack, I thought it was very, very harsh. Obviously, a lot of stuff going on in the background that went against him, I think. But yeah, I've got nothing but good words to say about Bradders, and like I say, a manager that trusted me, played me in more or less every game that he could, and it's really nice to see him doing well at Crawley with Yemsy now as well, and every so often we speak, which is nice as well.
Excellent stuff. And he did very, very well. He got us into the playoff semi-final, I should say, against Huddersfield. And unfortunately, we lost out on penalties that year. After Lee left the club, and we finished 11th in League One that season, he was replaced by Paul Groves in what was ultimately a difficult time for the club. How did you find playing under Groves?
Yeah, like I say, a very difficult period for the club. A lot of transition. a lot of money spent, obviously, as well for a League One club. We had a top draw squad, but yeah, my time with them were very indifferent. I don't think they liked me and didn't really want to play me. I don't think at the time they brought in Tommy Elphick and Miles Edison was their captain. So I was, not wanted probably in the team, which was difficult because again I'd gone from playing every game to then not being left out of the squad and remember Sheffield United away. Which was interesting. It was a kind of a test for me then, and I didn't handle it very well back then, obviously being, I think, 21 years old. So yeah, I didn't enjoy that time, and I don't think kind of there was a reason why we was, I think, third or fourth from bottom in League One with that sort of squad at the time, and I didn't feel that they. Maybe because I probably didn't feel that they deserved the job, and I was obviously a Lee Bradbury player. It obviously wasn't going to go fantastically well, but that was only obviously at that time. And looking back now, it's probably the only real time that I've been out of the team up until obviously this season. So it was a difficult one for me. Didn't enjoy it. Obviously, it didn't go great. We weren't winning. We was obviously performing really badly, but it was a catalyst for obviously the best appointment the club then made after that. So they do say everything happens for a reason, and I think if the squad that we had, and if we'd had obviously a decent manager at the time, things might not have transpired into the way they have.
And of course, that man that you mentioned there was certain Eddie Howe, who returned from Burnley. And after playing in a 2-1 win against Scunthorpe, you were virtually ever present in his side. From what other players have said about Eddie beforehand, were you excited to be playing for him?
Yeah, very much so. I couldn't wait for it. I knew from a few months back that he liked me as a player. Just before when I signed for Bournemouth, that I'd heard from like Fletch and whatnot that because he was at Burnley at the time that he liked me as a player, which was nice. I thought, okay, I've got a chance here. I've got something to prove. I remember his first training session. We done a small sided tournament, and I actually came out as player of the tournament because I was desperate to do well and put everything into obviously that training session and to kind of prove a point that I was here. I wanted to play. It took me a few weeks to get into the team because the team were winning at the time. And I think Miles got injured. We played Carlisle away, and I think it was the FA Cup then. I think it was the FA Cup that game. And then I played against Scunthorpe and then kind of didn't come out of the team. And so I was, like I say, when he got the job, it was just exciting for myself, a young player that kind of was desperate to learn.
And you scored your first goal that season in a 3-1 win against Carlisle, the game which saw us promoted to the second tier for the first time since the days of Harry Redknapp. How much do you remember of that day?
Everything.
God, Steve.
I remember kind of weirdly, I remember I'd say 99% of our games since I've been at Bournemouth. So it was a game that we obviously didn't think we would be promoted in because I think a lot of results had to go away, and eventually as the day went on they did. So the celebrations weren't probably as they should have been. I think Brentford kicked off the late kickoff, so we only found out we was 100% promoted that evening. And the corner that we actually took was named the Steve Cook corner for years after that because we kept trying to do it, but I don't think anyone ever scored after it. So it was quite nice. I really enjoyed that goal. I remember Harry Arter trying to rip my head off my shoulders. I see a few of the pictures actually, and I do smile to myself. Obviously, he went on and scored as well, and I think Bretty scored the third. And little did we know kind of what was in store for us. But yeah, an amazing day, an amazing night. Something that at the start of the season no one ever expected, because we was kind of in a relegation battle. I think we went on maybe a 24-game unbeaten run. Obviously, the season ended up being a little bit of a disappointment, as in not winning the league and not beating Tranmere on the last day, and then obviously in mental circumstances, Doncaster nicking it and winning it. But yeah, an overall incredible start to obviously the management's first kind of obviously season, and it set us up quite nicely for the Championship, and we did really have a top League One team, probably a Championship team at that point as well.
And after promotion, you remained one of the first names on the team sheet. What were your first impressions of the Championship, the side that you had around you, and the teams that you was coming up against, Steve?
Yeah, it was. I think back then we was not worried, but we wasn't sure how we would cope. It was a big deal, Bournemouth being back up, because we hadn't been in the second tier for so many years, and we obviously felt that we could be successful, but obviously success back then was staying in the league. I think we had difficult points in that season, but the way we finished it was incredible. We looked really strong. We were blowing teams out of the water at some point, starting games and kind of being 2-3-0 up in the first 20 minutes a couple of times. So we really grew into the season. At one point, we thought we might kind of creep into the playoffs, and that was obviously we rode the wave and just missed out through leaving it a little bit too late. But yeah, the end at the end of the season, we was very intense. We kind of saw the philosophy coming out in games. We were so strong down the sides of the pitch, and we had a work ethic that no other team had, and that kind of got us results then.
And you scored some massive goals that season, with the only goal in a 1-0 win up at Barnsley, a goal in the 2-2 draw with Ipswich, and your first Championship goal came in the 5-2 thrashing of Millwall. Which one of those was your favourite?
I would say that the Barnsley one was like a proper goalmouth scramble. Yanni, great header, keeper made a good save, and I ended up chesting it in. That was the point where we thought we could maybe push into the playoffs and really give it a go. But yeah, it was always a horrible place to go, obviously, and when in the last minutes we lost to Charlton, I think in the week, and my man actually scored the goal. So for myself as well, scoring that and it being the winner was really nice. The Millwall goal was a good one as well, because we were 1-0 down. I think we might have been 2-0 down. I'm not too sure, but it was a nice header as well. So every goal that I've managed to get has been special. But the Barnsley one at the time was yeah, it was really good. It was nice. The celebrations after with the fans that had travelled up to Barnsley, and you know, again, we really thought we could kind of push on after that game as well. Or it wasn't to be, but the feelings at the time were brilliant.
Of course, the club finished 10th, which was at that time our highest ever finish. In the changing room after the final game of the season, was there a belief within the camp that we could go one step further, that lots of Cherries fans thought was unbelievable at that time and pushed towards the top flight?
Yeah, I think so. We was always confident. We had a good team. We managed to obviously keep hold of Grabs in that January, stayed until the summer. He hit some form, so we thought, yeah, you know, we're gonna give it a really good go next year. I think Grabs left that summer, but we replaced him with Howe, and we was excited when Cal was coming in because we'd heard a lot of things. We'd heard that he turned Norwich down for us, and he was really coming into a group that was hungry. The work ethic was scary. The drive that the manager had, and the way he used to work with the intensity and the kind of strictness. We did really have a special group. We didn't realise it how special at that time. But the players that came in, like Dan Gosling and Gina Stanislas, really added quality to the changing room. So the belief was kind of starting to grow even through pre-season.
And of course, that following season was a pretty special year. I'm sure everybody will agree. You played every single game from the 4-0 win against Huddersfield at the start, all the way up to the 3-0 win at Charlton when we secured the title. To be honest, there's too many questions, Steve, that I could actually ask about that season. But in your own words, tell us the whole journey from that opening day. And of course, don't forget that 8-0 win at Birmingham as well.
Yeah, like you say, it's really difficult to kind of describe in just kind of one moment, because so many there was a lot of ups and downs. The downs, we at one point we thought we kind of messed it up. I don't think we won in 5. But the change room that we had, the lads that we had in the dressing room were terrific. You know, everyone drove themselves. I was still very young in that team, but they had kind of old heads either side of me and behind. So personally, it was a real challenge because Elliot Ward, who was experienced as well, was on the bench, and there was kind of opportunities where I could have come out of the team, but Eddie really stuck with me. I learned an awful lot about football myself, and it was a very, very long year, very long season, but the best in my career to date still. There's nothing beats being successful and winning the league. The way we've done it, the way we performed kind of week in, week out, the way we bounced back, the kind of the group we had, the way we worked was really special. So yeah, the days like Birmingham away when we won 8-0 was unimaginable, really, because who wins 8-0 in a championship fixture? I don't think many teams have, especially away. Birmingham at home was a totally different game. We went down a couple of goals and had to respond, so that was a special night as well. I think Wolves at home was a turning point for us. After a few bad results, we beat them 2-1, kind of ground against a really good Wolves team back then as well. We ground out a great result. There's so many, you know, the way we started the season, the way at Huddersfield, Razor sharp, Pewey outstanding, and the performance over the season from individuals was incredible. Kind of Sirs, he kind of held the midfield together. His passing was excellent, and we just had superb individuals all across the park, and not just on the pitch, off the pitch as well.
And of course, there was that win against Bolton at home, that 3-0 win, where we got promoted. I know it was mathematically, it wasn't 100%, but it was pretty much there, wasn't it?
Yeah, so that day, it was, you kind of floated through it. You know, as soon as we were, I know it's been said before by a few of the players, but so true. We arrived and we were like, this is going to be our night. It was under the lights, a nice evening. I always feel that Bournemouth under the lights at Dean Court Vitality is a special night. It's amazing to play in, you know. And that night was just perfect. We were never going to lose. We were a little bit shaky at the start, but once Pewey got that goal, it was just incredible. The support, the fans, the noise, the emotions. the kind of changing room celebrations, and obviously going out after, it was just perfect. Like you said, we weren't mathematically up, but it was more or less done. That night is my favourite night I've ever had in my life. Brings back obviously so many emotions and happy memories, and I think we went out a couple of times before the Charlton game, and then the Charlton game we were even better. We kind of took it in our stride. We had no pressure on us. We knew that we had to win if we wanted to win the league. We were up in the Premier League, so winning the league at that time we wasn't too fussed about. It's not until after when we won the league we realised how special it was. How we talk about it now, it's like we missed out on the League One, but we won the Championship one, which is I don't think many people will be able to do in a career. And it was an amazing feeling hearing the crowd celebrate when Sheffield Wednesday scored. It was. I think me and Tommy kind of shared a tear on the pitch itself, because we knew we'd done it, and something that was never really imaginable before it. So pure elation, amazing. The crowds, the scenes, the celebrations. Yes, to this day in my career, I think that season will be my most favourable, 100%.
And of course, then there was the bus tour just down to the beach as well, and the celebrations there. What was that like for you?
Do you know what? It was. We was driving down, and we was all chatting on the bus, and it was a bit of a Mike Bassett moment. There was a few people here and there. And we thought, oh, what if there's not? Bournemouth's big in the League One. We've done a League One tour, and it was nice, but we thought, oh, is there going to be many people out? And then we drove down to the beach, and it was honestly, I could not believe the support and that we had. I think more or less every person in Bournemouth was there. The sun was out. It couldn't have been any more perfect. For such a, people always go, oh, Bournemouth's not really a footballing town. But when you see that support and the amount of people that turned up, I thought it was, I will never forget that moment, being on the top top floor of the bus, and seeing everyone around, and it kind of looking back, pinnacle of my kind of Bournemouth career. That moment was special, and something that it was obviously won't happen again in my career here, and it's amazing.
Of course, that season as well, we signed Art Boruc. And what was it like playing in front of a goalkeeper like that? And how much of a character was he in the changing room?
Well, when Arthur came in, we couldn't believe that we'd signed him, so that just goes to show how big a signing he was. He was huge, obviously had a massive presence, an amazing career, a guy that you wouldn't mess with, kind of, you would always listen and learn, and he was top draw. Great character, a really, really great guy. Obviously grew with the group as the years went on, and I think he goes down as one of the best goalkeepers the club have had. He was terrific, great with his feet, an unbelievable shot stopper. I think even just before he left Bournemouth, his ability to kind of save the ball and what was frightening for he might hang if saying a keeper his age at the time. And yeah, he was a superb signing, a very underrated signing, I think, at the time, but a huge signing, and maybe the difference between us going up automatically and not.
And the following season, first year in the Premier League, which a lot of people were pinching themselves about, we stayed up despite being very unfortunate with injuries. How did the team have to adapt to the challenge of the top flight of English football?
Yeah, it was really difficult. Really, really difficult. I don't think players, when they get promoted from the Championship, realise the jump. It's okay, you can play well once or twice, the off games, but the consistency, the way the Premier League is, the way the Premier League kind of players are, it was really difficult. We went to Norwich and got absolutely pumped up there. It was really a really difficult afternoon because we thought, we could struggle. Then the injury to Cow, and kind of no disrespect to the players at the time, but in the Premier League you need a lot of pace kind of to hurt teams. And I think the front four at one point, or even the whole team, didn't have much about us. So it was kind of, how are we gonna get ourselves out of this? And somehow the togetherness, obviously the management, the playing style, the manager changed a little bit here and there. We changed formation. We got a few massive results against the big teams, which kind of gave us that confidence that we can win games. And yeah, we went from strength to strength after we had a huge result against Chelsea. And again, we didn't probably have the most talented team in the Premier League, but we had the dressing room, which was a ridiculous dressing room. It was unbelievable to be in. We had obviously an amazing group of staff, and the players really bought into how they wanted to work. We worked incredibly hard as players, and that, I think that's what saved us. The togetherness in the group, the kind of belief that we could win, and how hard we actually worked. I think we was one of the highest running teams that season in the Premier League, and if you don't run, you genuinely don't come out on top. So we took our kind of Championship thinking into the Premier League and made it our own.
The following season, we went even better, and we finished 9th, which to date is still the highest that this club has ever been. We signed Nathan Ake from Chelsea. Jack Wilshere joined on loan from Arsenal. What were they like when they come in? They were already big name players. What were they like to have around?
Yeah, brilliant. Nath, he's such a great guy. And at that point he wasn't playing. So it would have been easy for him to kind of, kick his toys out of the pram. He was from Chelsea. He wasn't playing a lot. He got his kind of moment, Stoke away, scored the winner, and never looked back. A tremendous guy. Obviously you don't play for Man City, if you're not an amazing footballer, and a terrific man as well. Obviously Jack, his past spoke for itself. I was very surprised that we was able to kind of sign a player like him. Now we're very good friends still, very close. So kind of that just goes to show, kind of even back then the group that we had, it was very, very tight. Second season in the Premier League can sometimes change. That second season syndrome in the Premier League is spoken about an awful lot, but we didn't allow that to happen in the dressing room. We had a very good bunch of lads. Still added some top quality players, but the recruitment was brilliant, because they don't just look at how well you can play, it's what you can contribute to the group as well. So the signings that season were perfect,
And from that season and beyond, what was your favourite moment from the Premier League years? Of course, there was the 4-3 against Liverpool, and that last gasp goal against Newcastle at St James's.
Yeah, yeah, the moments that we had in the Premier League were very special. We beat some top teams. We had some amazing results, results that we never thought we would be able to achieve. Obviously, those two games were massive for me individually because I scored in them. But the Chelsea away, our first big win, that was pivotal in our Premier League history. We really kicked on from there, got belief, and we backed it up with that very emotional game at Man United. The like you say, the Newcastle win away was to this day that's my favourite goal because it meant an awful lot to me. I'd been out of the team, had a bit to prove, kept a clean sheet, and scored the winner. So that was really nice for myself. But yeah, the moments, the special moments that the club had throughout the Premier League, well, there's too many to really kind of similar to kind of what we said about the Championship season. You can't really put it into one chat. Is something and memories that I'll have for an awful lot of time. And really proud to make the amount of appearances I did in the Premier League. So going back to when I first started, you said the early memories was to my dream was to play at the highest level. A lot of kids' dreams. Did I ever think it would happen? Probably not. That's why they were dreams. But luckily enough for me, I kind of ended up playing in the Premier League quite a lot and loved the majority of the time there.
There's one statistic from that third season where we were the team that come back from losing positions most. We gained the most points from losing positions. How was that philosophy ingrained in the team, and what did Eddie say when we went one goal behind?
What the fuck are you doing going one goal behind? That was never the plan. I think he hated that we were going goals behind. But again, the mentality of the group, we over the years, and I think sometimes even now at Bournemouth, I don't know. It was always weird. Sometimes it always took a goal to kind of spark us into life, or I don't know. It was a weird one, especially that year because we, like you say, we come back a lot. It was a fantastic trait to have. It was something that we didn't really enjoy because we wanted to kind of take the initiative and go goals up like we were doing years before. But to be able to come back from losing positions was something that was really good because you don't often see it in the Premier League. You go a goal behind and you kind of then also you stumble and you kind of then doubt yourself. But for some reason that year we were sharp in our minds after going 1-0 down, which was not ideal, but yeah, not something that we planned. Definitely not. We didn't plan on going 1-0 behind because we weren't that good. We was I'd rather us go 1-0 up and kick on. But yeah, that the third year was a funny year for us in the Premier League, and again a different kind of learning experience. We started to change here and there a little bit, as I think, tactically, and we felt that if we could maintain, that comeback style when needed, we could kind of then push on again.
And of course, that season we started fairly slowly, but we had a fantastic run towards the end of the season as well, didn't we?
Yeah, so I don't think we won for the first 5, did we?
No, we didn't.
And it was a real poor start to the season. But yeah, the end was really, and I think the end kind of led to how we started on the start of the fourth season because we were excellent.
Of course, one thing that we have to mention is the fifth season, and unfortunately getting relegated from the Premier League. If Project Restart and COVID hadn't happened, it is without a doubt, in my mind, that we would have stayed up. We'd just had decent results against Chelsea and Liverpool. We got beat by Liverpool, but we went 1-0 up and gave them a real run for their money. Are you of the same belief that Project Restart just stopped our momentum?
I would say that it's really hard for me to say because to this day, that team should never have gone down, you know. It was the best squad the club's ever had. Look at where most of the players are playing now, you know. We've got obviously Ramler's playing for Arsenal, Nath playing for Man City, King's playing for Watford in the Premier League, Cowell's playing for Newcastle in the Premier League, Ryan Fraser's playing in the Premier League, you know. So yeah, that team should never have gone down. We went down for a few reasons. I felt that we were extremely unlucky with decisions. The goal that Aston Villa conceded, if that was Liverpool and they missed out on the Champions League, that would never have been talked about just because it was Bournemouth. It was fine, you know. Unlucky Bournemouth, you know, we went down by a point. Burnley away with the handballs. Then the season after they changed the rule. So yeah, obviously very still obviously a little bit bitter at kind of speaking about it because that team should have in the end you go down on a 38 game season. So did we deserve to go down? Maybe. Should we have gone down? I don't think so. The COVID thing was no one could ever call what was obviously happening at that time. So who knows? It's something that, you know, it was obviously meant to be. We was meant to be relegated. But yeah, an awful time. A moment that was really kind of very, very stressful. An awful time actually in my kind of my life and my career. I kind of the pressures of that running was ridiculous. It was awful, even with no fans. You know, walking out onto a pitch with with the fans not there was really difficult. Playing football with no fans was awful. So yeah, the last 6 months, obviously the little bit of that season was really not enjoyable, and obviously the COVID situation was horrific in itself as well. So yeah, an all round real bad kind of period in the club's history, personally, and obviously the whole world. So yeah, it's something that you kind of don't look back too much on. First time I've really spoke about it, I think. And yeah, we always speak about it in the change room with the players, even with the new players that are here. How did you go down? And you know, I think it was just obviously meant to be. The decisions that went against us, the way we performed in some games was unacceptable. And sometimes things run its course. Players wanted out. Players weren't obviously living up to expectations on the pitch. And yeah, these things happen in football.
Of course, Eddie and Jason left that summer as well. And what was Eddie and Jason like to be in the dressing room? What were they like as managers for you?
Yeah, they were brilliant. Obviously, brilliant to myself. Eddie changed my game. He changed me as a person. Both of them, the whole staff. The way I am now, obviously compared to as a 20-year-old and obviously growing up as well. But yeah, he's a great manager, a great man. They both are. Still really close to both of them. Still take a lot of advice, obviously, from them and the other staff as well that were here. So yeah, I can't speak highly enough of them. Obviously, you don't need me, and the fans don't need me to tell them how good they are because they know that they'll go down as you know, the ultimate club legends. And everything that the players have had and that the club have got now is not purely down to them, because Maxim and the people behind the scenes have really been incredible as well. But it takes a lot to kind of get your philosophy, get your your team scrapping and fighting for their lives. So yeah, great, really good guys, and nice to see them back obviously together and managing now as well.
Yeah, and I'm sure they'll do an absolutely fantastic job up in Newcastle. And
yeah, no doubt.
It's a great job for them to get. The richest club in the world at the moment.
Well, who would have known? Gone from one of the poorest at the time to the richest. So only in
no
football,
pressure.
Eh?
Of course, that following season, Jason Tindall took the reins, and you got the captain's armband. Considering how much you'd already achieved here, Steve, how much of an honour was that?
Yeah, it was. It was a moment that I kind of really enjoyed. Obviously, I've been captain a lot throughout the years. I captained the side, I think, for the first time at MK Dons away in League One when Tommy Elfie got injured. So to then be named actually captain was really special. But looking at it is obviously really disappointing because I wasn't the captain and then took the club back up to the Premier League. We really failed, I think, last year. A huge kind of change in where the club was at. I think Jace was really unlucky as the manager. I think where whoever took over straight away from Eddie was going to find it difficult because and off a relegation, it's very hard to pick players up. So last year was a strange one again. We envisaged obviously going back up with fans. Loads of footballers have said it. The playing without the fans was, you didn't play the same. You couldn't produce some performances because that adrenaline, that buzz wasn't there. So last year was a real strange season, and like I say, I was very proud in being captain, but very disappointed myself and how the season obviously ended up finishing in a bit of failure, and obviously myself getting injured in the semi-final as well. So all round it was looking back at it, it was a bit of a disaster.
You've always been a fan's favourite with this club, engaging with fans on social media and in person, making phone calls to fans struggling during lockdown, and the amazing effort you've made donating time and also financially into Ugandan Cherries. What do the fans of this club mean to you?
Cool. I can't really answer that because I can't really tell you. It's the reason I try and do these things is because of how much I kind of care and love the club, love the fans. I wouldn't. I enjoy trying to kind of help. The club have given an awful lot to me. The fans have been nothing but amazing with myself kind of over the journey. So yeah, the little tiny things that I kind of do, there's something that I love doing. I would love to do more. I really enjoy speaking to the fans. I really enjoy contributing wherever I can. I can't tell you how much I kind of appreciate and love the place. Like I said to you, I fell in love with the town. I fell in love with the club when I first joined. 10 years later, if anything, the way I feel is grown extremely strong. So it's difficult for me to tell you how I feel. But this place kind of changed my life. It is my home. I've got 2 kids and I'm married now, and it's their home. So it will hold a special place in my heart, definitely forever.
And what I want to do, just before I ask the final question, is I just want to play a little video from Kizza and the Ugandan Cherries as well. You've done some fantastic work with Ugandan Cherries, and it's a fantastic fundraiser. How proud are you of how you've improved the lives of the children over there, the orphans over there in Uganda, and getting them to hopefully the Dana Cup?
To be honest, I wouldn't be able to sit here and say that I've done kind of anything, because obviously the way Steve set it up, the way the fans and have helped, myself, kind of contributing and whatnot. But yeah, my part was extremely small. So the thanks should go to Steve and the people that have really helped behind the scenes. The way it's grown from kind of sending some balls and some boots and whatnot to where they are now is cool. It's incredible. An amazing gesture. It started out as, and now it's something that isn't stopping. It's something that potentially could lead these young men traveling the world to go and play football. It's a dream that probably was never going to be able to happen, and hopefully we can get there. If there's still a long way to go financially, but if we don't get there this year, next year, hopefully eventually it will happen. And the work that's being done is amazing, and it kind of just sums the Bournemouth community up. This time that we're in, the last 2 years, has been horrendous for people, and they're kind of, a lot of people will be stretched to the limit, but then they're still finding money to send to Uganda, and it just kind of, what an amazing group we've got here. So yeah, there's no the contributions that I've made are extremely small in comparison to what's been done and what's been given by others.
And really, the final question is, what do you feel the future holds now, Steve, both at the club and beyond? And would you like to get into coaching, and what sort of steps have you made on that front?
Yeah, obviously for myself at the moment, a really difficult time, because being out of the team, out of the squad, is really difficult for myself. I think I've missed 20 games in 6 years. I'm probably approaching 20 games in one season at the moment, so it's definitely different for myself. Kind of enjoying the different things I'm doing at the moment. Still working extremely hard in training. I've got a fire kind of burning inside me at the moment to lead to wherever where it goes in the next few months, few weeks. So initially my future is at the moment, I can't say. There's no real thoughts at the moment. I'm kind of still desperate to contribute, but we'll see what happens. In terms of my future after football, yeah, I'm currently doing my A license now in coaching. So whether or not I want to go into coaching or management, I'm really not sure, but I'm desperate to kind of learn about the game, keep busy now as well. So yeah, I'm enjoying that. I go down to the academy, Bournemouth Academy, and help out there, kind of get my hours in, get some experience, and really enjoying that side of the game. And who knows what can happen in a few weeks. And the team are doing unbelievably well on the pitch, and just trying to support the lads, the younger players, in and around the training ground as much as I can for the time I'm at the club.
Is there anything in your career, looking back, that you would change, apart from Mansfield?
No, obviously, I've been very lucky. I've been very fortunate the way my career has panned out. So every moment that I've had has happened for a reason. I've really I sit here now as a 30-year-old man and still plenty to give in the game. Really excited to what my future holds. My past, I would not change one thing, not one result, not one club, because it's led me here. So no, I've loved every moment. I've kind of really enjoyed the roller coaster ride, and I'm hoping the roller coaster for me is still kind of there. I'm looking forward to the challenges that lie ahead for me now. Something that, excuse me, I never thought I would in a place right now where I thought I'd be, but kind of now really enjoying where I'm going to be, or really enjoying the challenge of training, working hard, the mental side of it. So yeah, in a really, really good place right now. So no, I wouldn't change anything, because my life, my career has been really enjoyable to date now.
Fantastic. Well, you'll always be a Cherries legend, Steve, regardless of what you do in the future. And from getting us from League One into the Premier League, spending those 5 years there, becoming captain, you've had a fantastic journey with this club, and long may it continue.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, something that, a journey that I never quite imagined, but the best, and I loved every minute. Let's see where it kind of goes and how long it goes for, but we'll see. But thanks for having me on.
Not a problem at all, Stephen. It's been an absolute pleasure to speak to you this evening. Thank you so much.
No problem. Likewise. Thanks so much, Greg.
And thank you, everybody, for joining me on this very special interview tonight. Please do remember to hit the like, the subscribe, and the bell button below to be alerted to any new videos we do here on Up the Cherries in all departments. Please also do remember to check out our interviews with Fair Game. Also, we've had Harry Redknapp, Effena Cuckoo, Beth Powney, Steve Fletcher, and Luther Blizzett as well. Also, do remember the details of the Ugandan Cherries effort to get them to the Dana Cup in 2022 is all below in the description. So please do remember to hit that and donate whatever you can. Also, I need to thank some people who have contributed questions to this show. So many thanks go out to Kerry Smith, Ollie Hudson, Gareth Pitchford, and everybody else who has contributed to this fantastic show. But until the next video, up the cherries, and I'll see you then.